Hey there, girlfriend. Ingafay here. Super excited to be with you all today. I have a coaching girlfriend that I'm so excited to share with you, Catryn, and we're going to talk about transforming regret into opportunity. Isn't that juicy? Doesn't it sound juicy? Well, we'll see you on the other side. Hey, Catryn.
Hey, Inga, I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you, girl. But before we get into talking about how to transform regret into opportunity, girl, we want to get in your business. Tell us a little bit about you, who you serve, and how you serve them.
Absolutely. So my name is Catryn Becker, and the clients that I get the best results for are successful women drowning in regret. Oh, it's the worst. And regret's something that we all experience, but we don't always get stuck in it. And that's why I use the word drowning. And for a successful woman, it's so hard when these regrets pile up, and then we feel so stuck and we don't know how to move forward and we don't know how to get out of it. So I've worked with over 250 successful women to help them move through the regret. And you know what the secret is? It's not actually regret. It's something that I call pregret. And it's the fear of regrets in the future that haven't happened yet.
Right.
So we work really well on our mindset, on helping getting our health and our finances, our relationships, and all the different areas of our life, all in order so that we can be successful in all of them and not just one or two.
Awesome. Well, that sounds juicy, girl. I can't wait to get in your business for real. So tell me a little bit, how does carrying regret for a woman, how does that affect our personal and our professional life?
It stops us. It stops us from doing the things because we say, oh, gosh, remember that one time when I said that thing, or I didn't speak up and I didn't say the thing that I wanted to say? And then it just becomes this snowball and it just becomes this part of our personality that isn't really ours. So we're not living completely authentically, and it drags us down and it makes us heavy. So one of the things that's really interesting when I start working with my clients is everyone, and I mean everyone, and I've worked with people where English isn't their first language.
Wow.
And after their first session, everyone has used the exact same word to describe their experience with me. And that was, I feel so much lighter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And especially when it's been someone from France, Germany, I had Estonia, Albania, like just all these different countries all use the same word. And I thought that really tells a lot about, we don't even notice how weighed down and heavy we are until we're able to kind of lighten the load and sit a little bit taller.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. So can you actually get over regret?
You can. You absolutely can. And that's why I use the word drowning in regret, because there's regrets that we have in our past that aren't necessarily ones that are holding us back. Regret can be a great learning exercise as well. And so I sometimes break down regret into an acronym, and it's realizing every goal requires embracing transformation. I think that's spelled correctly.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's when we have these goals and we have to realize that there's going to be a transformation that needs to happen to get to that goal. And we can either let that become a regret, or we can be okay with taking on that transformation. And sometimes, this is your beauty channel, but sometimes it can be as simple as a new necklace, a new top, a new lipstick shade that you love. It's just whatever that change is can help us embrace the next change and the next change. And so that we're not getting hung up on those regrets.
Yes. Well, I totally agree with that. It made me think about a quote from Coco Chanel, and it's apply red lipstick and attack. I love that. So it's just like, that empowerment of, I'm going to put this on. I'm going to face my fear. And I can't remember who had this acronym for fear, but it was called Face Everything and Rise. Isn't that powerful? But it's just made me think about that when I saw that quote from Coco Chanel, that whatever I got to do to get my head in the right space so I can handle what I need to handle and rise up. So yeah, I love it.
Yes.
Love it. So tell me a little bit about your coin turned pregret, and what does that actually mean?
Well, okay. So there's a phrase that's bloom where you're planted.
Right.
Which I completely get the essence behind why people use that phrase. It's about gratitude, being happy with what you have. But I also think it's a bit of BS. on
Keep it
on one
real,
hand,
girl. Keep it real.
because it's kind of like, hey, you've got all these other outside things that you have no control about and you just have to accept it. I don't think we have to. So I kind of take on this, just, I make up words where I need them,
Right.
like people optimization specialist. I could call myself a life coach and business coach. That's the words that people normally would associate it, but those words aren't my words. They don't resonate for me and what I'm doing.
Right.
So that's why I use people optimization. Like I'm taking people and I'm helping to just tweak and just optimize what's already there, because you're not broken.
Right.
You just have a little things that need to be tweaked. And that probably comes back to our shared engineering background.
Exactly. It does.
Of just wanting to optimize. So as I was working with people, and specifically, I'd been working with all these women, and I didn't really realize that it was regret and pregret that we were working on. And through working with another coach and mentor, that's kind of how this came to be, because he was asking me like, well, what are the results that you get for your clients? I was like, well, they're so very different. Like one person came to me because she was in a terrible breakup and she ended up finding love. Another person came to me because their marriage wasn't great and they were able to resolve it and they're going really strong. Another person had a terrible court case battle that she was going through, and it just seemed like the odds were against her and she was never going to win, and she won.
Wow.
Another person was struggling at work with some personal conflict issues and couldn't stand to be in the same room as this other person who was their boss.
Wow.
So that caused a lot of conflict, and we were able to smooth that out so that everything's fine and she can come to work and be her best self. Another person I had healed herself from some really amazing physical issues that she was going through. People have gotten off of medication, they've gotten raises. It's all of these different things. And so I'm like, how can I take all of these different results and really put that into a word? And what I realized is that we removed the regrets that were there, that were holding them back. There were regrets with how that relationship had ended. There were regrets about things that happened within the marriage. There were regrets about the physical piece of it, the health piece of it, and things that had happened in the past. And it was all of this stuff that was in the past that you can't go back and change.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about it. It's done. But you don't realize how much it's affecting you in the here and now.
Right.
As humans, we're really funny this way, in that we live with one foot in the future, anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety is the fear of worries that haven't happened yet.
Right.
And then we have one foot in the past with regret. And we hardly ever live in the present. So that's really how I came up with the word pregret. And it really resonates with the women that I serve, that they're like, you know what, I am worried about something else coming back into play. And they resonate that, hey, maybe these things have been holding me back and not letting me reach my full potential. They're like anchors.
Right. They are.
You can't fly as high.
Right. Right. I love it. I love it. So I'm curious, why did you decide to work with women?
Men get everything. I mean, for real. Like, just working as I mentioned, I'm also in an engineering background, 80 to 85% male. I worked in manufacturing, so it might have even been more skewed towards that. And they just have different sets of worries, different sets of regrets. And it's not that I couldn't serve them. It's just that I understand the regrets that women go through so much more deeper, because I've lived it too. I've worked my way through them as well. So I feel that there's more of kind of a natural kinship and understanding that's there. I have had male clients, and for the right male clients, I will say yes.
Right.
But generally speaking, it's women that have my heart. And, when I think about how far we have come as a gender just in the last 100 years, 100 years ago, we couldn't vote. We couldn't go do something without having our chaperone. We didn't have our own money. We didn't have so many things. And there's still places in the world where women don't have those rights.
Right.
So we're really catching up really, really quickly to what men have already been able to experience for a really long time. And there's something about, I know equity and equality is a really big word. I don't want to be a man's equal. I'm different. I don't want to be what they go through and how they live. I have a son and a daughter, so I really get to see kind of the differences there really well. But for me, it's harmony. Harmony are two different notes that go together and make each other sound better.
Oh, I love
I
that.
want harmony. I don't want equality. If we were all the same note, it'd be so boring.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. So, and that's why I wanted to ask you that, because that's oftentimes I get that asked to me as well. And we're right on the same bandwidth as far as, being in that male-dominated field and knowing that you were the only one most of the time and have to deal with the competition and the chauvinistic stuff going on, although not all of them were bad. There were some good that were great to work with, but just I feel you with that. That's why I'm all about that too. And that's why I asked you that question, because I get that asked a lot of me, why just women, Inga, they're introverted men too. Yeah, you're right. But I'm all about helping my fellow girlfriends out there that have been through the thick and thin and, just wanting to make it happen. And for whatever reason, feeling like something is holding them back. And I just love the part of the pre-regret, just making sure that they let go of that so they can be all that they can be that best version of themselves. So that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
So what are some key strategies that you use to help your clients transform through their regretful opportunities, I'll say?
So most people, when I talk to them, don't know what it is that they want. A lot of times we start there. Like, what is it that you want? What is it that you hope to achieve with your life, with, the next year, just breaking it down. And we do vision boards a lot. And I do vision boards very differently from, this is kind of a theme. I take what other people have done. I'm like, I love the concept, but it's not for me. How can I make this Catryn?
Exactly.
So I do vision boards a little bit differently. And when we're setting up these vision boards and helping to understand what it is that people want, so many vision boards start out looking same. So it's what society has told us they're supposed to look like.
Right.
We got to put on the red car and maybe a trip to a place with palm trees. We got to go to Tahiti. Like, it's all the same dreams.
Right.
And I know that that's not actually people's dreams.
Exactly. It's what they're told their dreams should be.
Exactly. So a huge part of this kind of, it's a remembering of who we are is really what the process is. So we have to go through and find out what are the things that other people have put on us, whether it's society, whether it's family, whether it's our culture, all these different experiences that we've had that tell us things should be a certain way.
Right.
Well, let's stop shoulding all over ourselves and figure out who we authentically are and what we authentically want. And there's a couple of different tools to do that outside of the vision board. There's a lot that can be done with astrology and with personality tests. And this is the thing I find so darn fascinating, because with coming from engineering, I can be a bit of a skeptic to new things at first, right? It takes a minute for me to get won over to it, but once I'm won over, I'm like 100% on board.
Right.
So I have followed the Clifton Strengths for many, many years. It's something that many Fortune 500 companies have used, universities, really, well respected as far as personality goes and understanding who you are on a deeper level. And it makes sense mathematically because there are 36 different strengths that you have in any sort of order. And so when you look at the chances of you and I having the exact same strengths in the exact same order is like 11 billion to 1.
Wow.
There's not 11 billion people.
Right.
There never has been 11 billion people. So when you think of that, it really illustrates the complete uniqueness of each one of us. And so that's something that I could really get behind. And then as I started digging more into astrology, which I only ever kind of looked at just the main one, like, the month that you're born, your sun sign, right? And being like, oh, that's a horoscope. This is just complete utter nonsense.
Right.
But I started digging deeper into, because it's not just about where the sun is when you're born. It's about where the moon is, where Mars is, where Mercury, where Venus, where all of the planets are located. And then there's something called houses. So you have the zodiac sign has its own essence and meaning. Then this house, where it is on your chart, and then what planet. So it gets really, really layered and very nuanced. And I started looking into what's called the major six. And when I compared that and all of the different positives and negatives with them, and then compared it to my Clifton strengths, the top 15 matched almost exactly with my astrology.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I was like, holy moly, like there's no way that this is a coincidence.
Right.
It was so much alignment that I was like, oh my gosh, this really does tell a deeper picture of who I am.
Right.
And being able to understand myself deeper. And that allowed me to let go of a lot of preconceived notions and other people's expectations.
Interesting.
And regrets come from those places, because regrets are when we're doing something that's out of our own character.
Right.
We're doing something that someone else told us we should do or should act or shouldn't say or should say, whatever the regret comes from.
Right.
So when we can get rid of the pieces of ourselves that aren't actually us and get back to our authentic self and love who she is,
right,
those regrets melt. They just disappear.
That is awesome. I love it. I love it. So what do you say to those that are that are woulda, coulda, shoulda folks? Oh, I woulda, coulda, shoulda done this, and I woulda, coulda, shoulda done that. Because I often find that when they say that, I guess it's a regret that they didn't act when they should have acted. I guess and they're like, tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's for the women that I work with, there's a certain level of readiness that they need to have.
Okay.
Because there needs to be some accountability of, yeah, this happened.
Yep.
I didn't like what the result was. I don't want to have this result again.
Exactly.
How can I change this? How can I, improve this situation? So for the people who are still a bit stuck in playing that in a loop on their mind, there's a couple of different things that we can do for them. But if they're not ready to take that step, because here's the thing as a coach, and it's just like a coach of a basketball team, soccer team, football team, baseball team, whatever that sport is, swim team,
Right.
The coach can only do so much with the person, but once it's game time, it's up to the players on the field.
That's right.
The coach is not on the field doing the work.
Exactly.
And so I think sometimes with the way coaching has taken off in the last 5 years or so, there's this expectation that a coach will just tell you what you need to do and you just do it, and that's it. And that's not exactly true. It's working together to figure out what that is, but the person on the other end has to be able to do the work.
Yeah.
So one of the tools I have in my toolkit is something called the subconscious release technique. And our subconscious, it doesn't have a sense of humor so much. It believes everything that it hears.
Right.
It takes everything as complete fact. And so when I can go and do my process with someone on a one-to-one basis, we can figure out what are those thought processes that they keep repeating over and over again, and what are the negative emotions that are attached to it. And then it's kind of like being a surgeon, and I can just kind of cut out those negative emotions so that they're not being auto-generated. Because that's what happens is once you have this thought pattern enough, the brain can be kind of lazy,
right,
and says, oh, I remember that when we think this, we feel this way.
Right.
Cool. I'm just going to put that on autopilot and not give it any more thought. And it happens all the time.
Right.
So I can go in and detach that auto program, so that next time you have that thought, you actually can think about how you want to feel instead of you just automatically feeling that way.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. So it's kind of a swap method that you're replacing one negative thought with something more positive experience. So that's cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's very, very similar to that. It's really giving people back the power of choice.
Yeah.
Because when these auto-generated things happen, there's no choice. You're not consciously choosing to feel that way. So I'm just giving someone another option.
Yeah. So basically, I'm curious, how do you separate the whiners from the action takers when you're actually working with new folks?
I can usually figure it out within the first 5 minutes, maybe 5 seconds.
Okay.
Some people. And it's just hearing how they talk about their stories and what it is that they want to get through. And we're all human. I mean, there's times when I need to sit and whine for a moment,
right?
Because it just feels good sometimes,
yep.
And I just need to get it out.
Yep.
So that's different.
Yep.
That is a different situation, and that's the place where I can give a little tough love and say, okay, I hear you. I feel that you want to feel this way, but do you want to continue to feel this way?
Right.
Or are you ready to move through this?
Right.
So with the whiners are the ones who want to keep rehashing the problem.
Right.
And aren't looking for creating a solution.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, I think you kind of already talked about this, but I was going to ask you, what are some common traits or actions that do you see from most of your successful clients? What do they share?
Oh, they're motivated. They are sick and tired of living this way, and they are ready to do whatever it takes to move forward. So they're the ones that when I give a homework assignment, they do it.
Right.
And they will text me that they have done it. It's not like we get on the call and it's like, okay, so, I look at my notes. I'm like, last week we talked about this, how's that going? And they go, oh,
well, see, so what happened was.
Exactly. What happened was. and that's a response when we're avoiding.
Oh yeah, it is. It is, because it's everybody else's fault but ours.
Exactly. So the most motivated clients come in with an open mind. They're ready to do the work, and they're ready to see a change in their life. They're not getting the results that they want and continuing to live in that victim pattern. Yep. So they're ready to move forward.
Awesome. So now, for those of the viewers that are watching this and are just like, oh, this is so good, and I'm sure it's a whole bunch of folks saying that, how can people connect with you after this is over?
I'm on all the social medias, and luckily there's not any other Catryn Beckers, or very, very few. You just have to know how to spell my name, and that is Catryn. It's actually a Welsh name from my great-great-grandmother. Okay. So as long as you remember that it's Catryn, there's no H, you can find me. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. The website is optimizewe.com. You can find me on there. I also host a podcast, which is how Inga and I first met. The podcast is called The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business. It's a great platform to listen to all sorts of amazing, successful people and to really talk about the good, bad, and ugly, which is something that I don't think we do enough in society. Right. So it's a great way to get some great learnings from all different types of industries and see how they apply to you in your life.
Yes. So I have the website up here. So for you guys that are watching, the website, of course, is here. Don't worry about writing it down. You can just go down to the description. It's going to be there. It's going to be a hyperlink where it'll take you directly to her website as well as her podcast, and you'll be able to connect with her there. But girl, this was great. I enjoyed so much talking to you and, just kicking back. And like I said, when we first connected with the podcast, I knew you were going to be my girlfriend. We just had connection. We just had too much in common for us not to just really connect. So I enjoy you. I know they enjoyed you as well. And
I enjoy you too. It's so good to have this second conversation, and interviews are such a great way to ask the questions that you normally wouldn't ask. It puts it in such a lovely format to go deep. And
it does.
I'm not available for shallow relationships anymore.
Oh yeah, I'm with you there, girl. Yeah, later for that. Yeah. So thanks again for for coming and sharing your wisdom and guidance. And for those of you watching, if you know of anyone that you would love for me to interview, by all means, DM me or drop me a note down in this interview as well. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Bye.